Go time. Yeah. So, hey, welcome
That's right.
everybody. Welcome everybody on the podcast. Welcome everybody on the live. Thanks for joining us today, especially on the live today. There's only two of us, which means we got more opportunity for comments. Like Tom won't be joining us today, but Carson is here. I'm here. Carson's in his home office as usual, and I am sitting in a hotel lobby in Boston. But we're here live. Carson, today we're going to talk about social prospecting is not social marketing. You want to let everybody know what the heck we mean by that?
You've said a mouthful, Brandon, and I feel like we're really going to have to up the ante today from a comedy perspective without Tom's presence. So I'm in if you are, but
Yeah, let's give it a go.
absolutely, I'm willing to try. And plus, this is going to be a lot more opportunity for us to to engage, like you said. So social prospecting, not social marketing. There's a very key delineation here, and this is such an important topic. I'm going to go back because one of your key themes is social selling sucks, right? And I think this is one of the key misnomers around social selling. There's this belief that if we just start going out and creating posts and talking about how great our company is or our solutions and all those things that just magically some potential buyer is going to see that and engage and say, oh yes, sign me up, or here's a purchase order direct to your LinkedIn inbox. And guess what? That doesn't happen. And for any and all of us, I think a lot of us, at whatever scale you are from a social selling perspective, we've all tried different things and failed. And don't get me wrong, I've absolutely gone out, I've made posts about my organization and some of the things that we do, whatever company I worked for at the time. But a lot of that is the social marketing piece, right? So we've got marketing departments. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Maybe they're very robust. They may create content. They may curate content. They may send you things. We may repost some of the things that our marketing teams create. But for a couple of reasons, those aren't always super effective when we're trying to create buying relationships. The algorithm may or may not like them, or a lot of times the hits, the likes, the comments, the reshares, they're all people from our own organization. And so we've got to add a few layers, and that's what we're going to unpack today, Brandon. It's really, how can you, don't get me wrong, you will leverage some of these tools, but how can you really turn this into proactive and active social prospecting that creates dialogue? That's what we're after.
Yeah, that's good. And it's that for everybody to hear, it's that active piece. I think too often, and the reason why I say social selling sucks is to get people to stop for a minute and go, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? And it's because that it's really that mindset of this is easy. We just plug it in, and all of a sudden, POs are going to rain from heaven. And we're just going to, put this cadence in the direct messaging. And what we do is we send out a bunch of cold connection requests, and then we drip this, and you get 10 new leads a week, and we, guaranteed phone calls. And I don't know how many people have tried that or paid for that, and then came back and were like, that didn't really work. There's a lot of people out there selling it. And I really want to key in, Carson, what you said, for everybody, what Carson said. This is about proactive activity. This is too often we look at social as being passive, right? We're going to post stuff. I had a CEO tell me one time, he's like, you know what? I really like social selling, and I really think we need to do it. We just don't have time for it now. I go, well, what does that mean? Well, it's going to take like what, 6 months to a year to have any impact? I'm like, well, that, no, it's like, well, let's say this. If I go to a networking event, I just walk in there and I hold my brochure up. Yeah, it may take 6 months to a year for me to get anywhere. But if I go in the room and I start walking around and shaking hands and introducing myself to people and getting to know them and having conversations, that's not 6 to 12 months. Like there's very different based on your view and your perception of what this means. So let's kind of break that out. And whether it's social prospecting is a right word or not, we really want to differentiate between those two.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we've got to go back to the impetus for this show. It's around social selling for newbies, and we're all at different scale in our social selling proficiencies. There's always new tools, new mediums. We've talked about a litany of those on this show, whether it's LinkedIn or leveraging Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all of these things, new tools, new ways to engage. Now, we can use these tools in order to say great things about our company. And we've all done that, I believe, right? At varying times. And we've probably not seen a ton of results as far as, people engaging as a direct result. However, there's room for these social marketing tools. And I would actually challenge people to take it one step further. Where I've seen great results is when I'm able to not talk about my organization or my team per se, but to tout some of the successes that our customers are having as a result of the collaboration that we had. We don't need or want to be the hero. We want to be able to show what's actually transpiring as a result of that collaboration to get people thinking. Because often as sellers, where we add value is, we show up getting people to think about things or asking questions that get people to think about things in ways that they weren't already thinking about. Ways that are going to open up new revenue streams, ways that are going to open up ability to optimize costs or cut costs or shore up problems or gaps that they have in their processes. And it's very hard to do that with a social media marketing post. It's very hard to do that. You can't encapsulate all of that. And so when I think social prospecting, Brandon, and I'd love to get your deeper definition as well, but when I think about that, I think about all those areas that we've explored on this show, like the social listening piece, going out and showing up informed because I know more about this industry or about this organization, or I'm reacting and responding because there was a C-level change or some M&A activity that I need to react and respond to. Now, here's the thing. The interesting caveat between the two is that I've absolutely leveraged social marketing material for very specific and very focused reasons, sending them to a potential prospect to say, hey, I saw your post last week, or based on our conversation, this resonated with me. This is how we're grappling with some of the issues that you claim to be grappling with, or I read your company reports. This is how we're showing up with organizations to handle similar problems. Does this resonate? Is this something you'd like to discuss further? So social marketing can be used as an element, as an important element of social prospecting, but they're not interchangeable.
Yeah. I like that. You asked what my definition is, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, and anyone else. By the way, Thomas and Butch, anyone else that's on there, thank you so much for joining us, and love to keep seeing it in the comments. And any other questions, please join the conversation. Like I said, Tom's not here today. We got to fill in the gap. If not, Carson and I are just going to talk too much.
Right.
Which we can do. That's not a problem. We'll fill it in, but you kind of get tired of hearing ourselves talk. So
in the movie trivia segment it will probably expand today if we have to. So.
You know what we should do? Maybe we start doing is ask people to throw in a movie into the comments, and we got to figure out how to work that movie into a social selling conversation.
That would be a wonderful.
Think we got
challenge.
that kind of skill?
That'd be a wonderful challenge. I actually remember years ago in my call center days, we would integrate song lyrics, Sylvester Stallone movie titles into calls with customers, respectfully, I add. And again, this was in my much, much younger days. But yeah, I'm up to the challenge.
Okay, well, if we're going to talk about things kind of, marginally stupid things we did in our much younger days, I don't remember where I heard it, where I learned it. Maybe I just thought of it. But I created this game with my wife when we'd go out to dinner with people, and we tried to do it as respectful as we can. But we would come up with 3 words, and our goal was to navigate the conversation so that other people that are at dinner would use one of those words.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We stopped doing it when I got very, very obvious. I got a little competitive, and I was trying to, get it done. And I made these just real random conversation topics to try and get it there. My wife's like, we're done. We're not doing that anymore.
That sounds like it could be a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
It very well could have been. Yeah. Okay. So Diane put Greece as our option. So let's keep going. We'll figure out where we can
Greece. Wow.
bring Danny Zuko and team into this. So back to a definition. I think my definition tries to incorporate all the things that we talk about, and it is strategically using our social media activities to generate healthy relationships with prospects that lead to sales conversations. What do you think about that?
I think Noah Webster is going to be calling, or at least his people, because that should be the textbook definition. Because when I think about prospecting, the whole goal, it's not to get your solution set in front of anyone. It's about creation of that relationship. It's about unlocking that door. And where I've seen the value of social selling, frankly, Brandon, and we've talked about this a lot, is sometimes using some of these tools and the social listening to unlock the doors that previously were not
Yeah.
open to us. And I think that's the key. And so being able to see some of this intel and acknowledging that a lot of our customers are out there doing research. I think of a lot of times with social prospecting, and even like with the posts that I make, when I'm trying to use them to plant the seed for what's possible with collaboration with customers, a lot of times it's like you're trying to create a billboard, right? You think about your target audience, you think about where they are, what kind of hashtags they're looking at, or what types of topics are going to really resonate with them, what types of groups might they be in and join. And it's a very holistic approach. I mean, it's very simple for any of us to go out and make a post, just like it's very simple for somebody to pick up the phone and call a customer. But what makes us stand out, what gives us that exponentially higher probability that we're going to get that response, call it the greased lightning, if you were. Those are the types of things that we're going to be able to do to get to stand out and to stand out amongst all the noise. And that's where I think the social prospecting piece is king. Go after it with the goal of actually just having the conversation. The rest will fall into place.
That was really good. That was just sly the way you just kind of built that right in there. I
Oh,
tell you
man.
what, and I'm starting to worry because I was like, oh, we're going in a grease lightning direction here, and then there it was. So we just teed that up and hit it out of the park, Carson.
I am no
Yeah,
beauty school dropout. I'll tell you that right now.
yeah. I never even applied. I knew the result.
That's
Yeah,
Tom. Tom might be the beauty school dropout.
that's right. That's right. Okay, so Butch has got Casablanca on here. I don't know if I can pull
Ooh,
that one off, but let me get back to what I think around the social prospecting side, and I like how you bring a lot about the social listening, and I think as enterprise sales, there's a lot of intel that you can get on social listening. Major executive decisions, changes, those take place. You get to go read all their public information. You can learn a lot about where they're going. And a lot of my customers are more SMB, and maybe they don't have access to as much of that. So I don't want to say that social listening part is irrelevant. Um, I think it's very relevant. The other one is go listen to what they're posting about on their corporate pages. Even though it's their marketing material and they're trying to sell products, you can get some insights there. The next one for social listening for me, and it sounds kind of maybe it's a little confusing because social listening for me, the next step is actually commenting, right? We have to read or listen, but the only way they know that we listened, and that's the key part, they got to know that we listened, they got to know that we read it, is to actually comment. And so I think when I think of social prospecting, the three steps are comment first. Then we publish content, and we can talk a little bit about the type of content, which you always share. And then you can go and send a connection request. But if you're not commenting and you're not publishing content, the likelihood of your connection request not just getting accepted, but becoming a healthy connection. We distinguish there's connections. I had a couple of connections this morning that I disconnected because I was in the pitch slap routine. So there's connections. You can get all excited you want. Oh, I got all these people accepting my connection request. It doesn't mean they're going to have a conversation. It doesn't mean they're reading your content. It doesn't mean they want to have anything to do with you at this point. The commenting is the action that demonstrates that you're listening, and it's not just great post. You know, do over 5 words, do a couple sentences, do something relevant. And the value of that is they see you, they know who you are. It's a great way of saying, hi, I'm so and so, rather than, hi, I'm so and so, here's my brochure.
Play it again, Brandon. That's money. That is, I love that, and it's interesting. I was actually giving a talk earlier today about LinkedIn and leveraging it for social selling, but also personal branding. And that was one of the things that I highlighted because a lot of people, their trepidation is around, well, my gosh, like what do I post right out of the gate? And maybe I'm not comfortable yet with the post, putting myself out there, and that's a continual process because as you dabble with different mediums, you're going to have that same trepidation. You're sticking your feet in the water when you do video or a podcast for the first time or any of these other mediums. Or you're like me and you just take a flying cannonball leap and you just post a TikTok video on a whim on a Wednesday. But here's the thing: it's what you said is so important around social prospecting, Brandon, because a lot of my activity, and this is something that you can do when you're just starting out and when you're not ready to post just yet, too, going out and following your target prospect. I follow executives, a couple of key executives that are still on my wish list, right? And I want to be able to say, here's the beginning of a beautiful friendship, right? But I haven't gotten there yet, right? So, I love Bogart, by the way. So Casablanca, great nod there. But what's interesting is like you can follow these folks, and when you see something, when you see them make a post, like certain CEOs or CFOs or COOs that you want to connect with, you can go out there and you can flag them so that you're notified every single time they make a post. And when you see these posts, there's a lot of likes, right? It's so easy to, and again, we got to stop leaning into the easy because it's so easy to just like a comment or a post
Yeah.
that somebody makes. Anybody can do that. But where people don't do is they don't often comment. But when you're making that comment, also, you can tag the person and say something very insightful. You and I have talked about this before. It's not about just saying, hey, great post. That's not insightful. But if it's, Jeff or Mary, this resonated with me because of blank, and this is something that we're commonly doing with a lot of our customers, or you send them a link to some of that social marketing material as a result that might resonate with them, that's very focused and targeted to the situation and the person. That's what can add probability to getting the meeting. And you're not going to get the meeting right out of the gate. But guess what? If you keep commenting and engaging on these executives' posts, you're going to find a way to stay top of mind and get on their radar. And so your viability when you send them a message goes up exponentially of getting that meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, especially around the newbie side, is your prospects. So let's say like I always say, take your top 100 prospects and we're going to go comment 25 a day every 4 days and just go see what their activity is and get in front of them. Now, we also know that not everybody, especially because there's people like us out there saying, don't do this. They don't just post about their company. They don't just come out and go, hey, we're looking for this product. Like sometimes that happens. When it happens, awesome. But they're building their personal brand. They're talking about leadership. They're talking about sales. They're talking about their industry. They're talking about career growth. They're talking about all these other things. Be comfortable like you would in a networking event, going where the conversations go. And it takes work. It takes thought. It's not a simple, oh, I like this. It's not a simple, let me go take this 2 sentence pre-written thing about our company and go paste it in a bunch of places. It's not going to work. It's easy, yes, but it's not effective. It's not going to increase your probability of them going, wow, that's interesting. I may want to have a conversation with you and dig in more. So that taking the time to go see where they're at, see what they're doing, see what they're liking, they're commenting on, and joining those conversations, and not being afraid of just having the sales conversation. It's I have a friend of mine that I think he's coming around. It's taken several years, but he would say, Brandon, LinkedIn's about business. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but business isn't just about business. Business is very personal. Like,
Yes.
he and I had gone out, we had dinner, we had margaritas, we talked about our families, we talked about a bunch of stuff. And we had drinks and everything was more personal, but there was a purpose of business around it. And it was, yeah, but that's not LinkedIn. LinkedIn is only about business. And I'm like, and so I've been, and I got into the personal content side because I was scared. I didn't know what to say. I mean, what do I reveal about myself? What don't I reveal about myself? I got in by just dad jokes because, I got 5 kids. I like dad jokes. I love making my kids go, oh, dad. And I kind of started that way. And what amazed me is how many people connected with me, how many
Yeah.
people resonated with it. And I would we develop some sort of rapport. What I learned that is I wasn't yet strategic about who, but I realized there's people that engage with you out there, but you got to talk about life like you would with somebody, not just the conversations you would have with somebody inside of a boardroom.
You hit a couple of chords for me there, Brandon, because, what's the old adage? People buy from who they like, know, and trust. And that's why showing that human element on social can be so important. I was having a philosophical conversation about that recently too. It's like, how we, the types of posts that we make. And like last week, we talked about the challenge, doing the 30-day challenge around making a post and thinking intentionally about the types of things that you post. There's room for all different types of posts about your organization and, resharing some of that curated marketing content. That's great. Sharing things that are about you personally so that people feel like they get to know you. They can align with you. They can, something that you did or you said resonated with them. Those I take that very seriously, and I think it has to be incorporated in, regardless of if it's about business. Because I agree with you, business can be one of the most personal things. Some of my most long-lasting friendships happened as a result of business. But I think Diane had a great comment in the chat, and it was, I like your conversation. I appreciate that you guys agree and understand that social selling isn't a silver bullet. Brilliantly said, Diane. And you're so right. It is a complement to all of the things that we do. It doesn't replace any component of sales. And, some of the things that you described, Brandon, those are the types of experiences that people will walk away from and say, social selling sucks because I made some posts. Nobody bought anything. So this doesn't work. I don't have time to do it. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go back to my comfortable ways of mediocrity or my comfortable ways of failing and sending emails that nobody responds to. And I think that's the beauty of this is that, understanding how to leverage social selling to create relationships that you wouldn't have had otherwise and to nurture relationships over time and invest in them over time. That's the key. But you've got to use these resources responsibly. You can't just have access to this great marketing material and think if I make a post about it, people are going to buy. No, it's how can I use this marketing material for a very specific, very focused, very targeted outreach, or even know the talking points so that you can convey them when the time is right. That's the key. Great sellers know exactly how to and when to articulate some of these key elements. So, Diane, you're so right. It's a strategy. And, the too good to believe pitches, you're so right, because far too often we go out and we just say like we act like our organization is the best thing out there. No, we need to know our competitors as well. I study what all of my competitors are doing, what they're putting out there, where their wins are and where they're thinking, because look, your competition, they've got strengths too, but they've also got weaknesses. And if you're able to fill a gap where your competitor has a weakness, that could very well be where your social prospecting is geared toward.
Yeah. Well, and it's throw in another movie. Social selling sucks when you believe the field of dreams approach. If you build it, they will come. And it depends on what you build. In that movie, he's having him build a baseball park. If he had built a soccer field, I don't think the baseball players were coming out of the cornfield to get into it, right? We need to look at our social activity strategically in order to create the opportunity to have conversations with prospects. And that includes our strategic approach to our comments, our strategic approach to what we're saying. And I come back and I'm kind of glad Tom's not here today so we could brag on him. he did such a great job in his book, in the revenue zone, by building out the revenue zone matrix,
Yeah.
because know, like, and trust. And if anyone that's listening or watching, you haven't seen it, you can go to revenue. I think he's revenuezonemedia.com. But the revenue zone matrix, I think, is so perfect for how to think about social as a tool. The X axis is know, like, and trust, which is still important,
Yeah.
because if they know us and like us and trust us, they're much more likely to get in conversation. They're much more likely to engage, and they're going to do that quicker. And that's where some of the dad joke type of stuff, and I know you talk a lot about leadership and personal development and things in your post as well. Those open doors, and all of a sudden someone looks and goes, oh, they're more than just a sales rep. And a lot of those barriers and those walls come down, because now we are controlling our behavior to be seen as more of a complete human, instead of just that sales rep. We're not the guy with the brochure in their face.
Mhm.
That's why we take people to dinner and lunches, so we could have a holistic conversation, and we can translate that strategy into social. But we have to post about other things and bring in our product or our services. So when we're doing that as a strategy, it's where we then have the ability to, one, we're being proactive, we're not just being reactive. And two, we could put systems in place and have good KPIs and have good metrics to make sure that we're putting ourselves in the right places, in front of the right people. And we can actually start documenting data of how many conversations did we develop. And I'm not saying a sales opportunity at that point. I like to start with conversations,
Right.
because a sales opportunity is going to come much more likely if I have a good conversation. But if I have my first conversation and I go straight to sales, if they're in that 1 to 3% that are currently in market, it's top of mind, this is important right now, maybe I'm going to get lucky. But usually that means 97 to 99% of the people you're trying to sell to, they're not ready to buy, and we just miss.
That's it. I mean, look, I look at social marketing, it feels very one-sided, one-dimensional. You're trying to convey a very specific message to a wide swath of people, and hoping that there's some kind of hit out there. It feels very random. And don't get me wrong, I mean, you could absolutely post something, somebody sees it, you might have influenced something that you don't realize in the moment. So that's absolutely possible. But
No.
with social prospecting, there's so many facets, so many layers. I think about social selling as a way of life, right? I mean, I look at all of the
Mhm.
different tools that I'm leveraging, and there's tools that move in and out based on relevance, based on who my target audience is. But yeah, and we've talked about a lot of them on the show. I'll subscribe to a lot of email alerts and different trade magazines based on whatever industry that I'm working in at the time. I'll do email alerts for the target organizations. I'll follow very specific people and flag their posts, so that when they post, because I want to create that relationship, I will see that in my notifications and I'm able to go there. I actually just recently started using Humantic AI, which is a personality AI tool. And I think we're going to have a couple of those folks on a future show, so we can talk about how you can show up more informed when you reach out to a customer, as opposed to sounding like everybody else that's reaching out. You can actually, believe it or not, often buyers will have a different style of buying than your selling style. So how can we meet them where they are? Show up better, show up differently, and not just show up with the same canned message, hoping for a result. That's the spray and pray. That is the just some of the randomized effect. And the last thing I'll say on that topic is, when you think about it, how often do we look at it from our buyer's point of view? Your target audience, what do you think their LinkedIn feed looks like? What do you think their LinkedIn inbox looks like? What do you think their email inbox looks like? I talk to executives all the time, and they'll say they get contact from 30, 40 salespeople a day. So my challenge to you is, how can you leverage social prospecting in a way to listen, show up informed, show up with value, say things that are insightful, and create meaningful relationships that aren't about a sale. They're about the relationship. And I think that's the big difference between the social prospecting and the social marketing is social prospecting is multifaceted, while social marketing is often very one-dimensional.
That's a really great summary of it, Carson. Too bad it took us 30 minutes to get there, but that is a great summary of it. The social prospecting is it's multidimensional. You know, we can control our behavior. We can be strategic about who we're getting in front of. We can be strategic about who we're listening to and react accordingly. And social marketing, and I would say like social marketing from the marketing side, they're very strategic about brand building, the
Yep.
messages they want, how they want the company to be seen. And there is an element of that marketing in our personal side as newbies. It's called our personal brand. And that's where I bring in the personal development, the leadership. You know, I've been part of the John Maxwell leadership program team for, I don't know, 10 years now. And that type of content and that focused training has been hugely beneficial to my life, not just my career. I didn't know how to think positive when I was younger. I had to figure some of that stuff out, and I post about that, and they open doors to other people, and they're not always people that go, "Oh yeah, this is great. Hey, can I buy your product?" No, it's more of that relationship, that network, and I think now more than ever with social, that concept of when people go, "Oh, I've heard about you," or that concept of your reputation precedes you, we have the ability now to control that narrative around our reputation by what we do inside of social media.
Wow.
We could do pitch slapping behavior and get a reputation, or we could do giving, sharing, engaging, commenting, variety of posting and get a reputation for that.
You nailed it. And some more great comments. I saw Diane made another great comment around a lot of this traditional marketing, shotgun advertising, cold call selling is dying. And you're so right. There's new, better ways to show up and make that first touch point. And that's what we as sellers have to adopt. And we've got to be resourceful. We've got to figure out what these resources are and how to use them responsibly. And Sarah, great comment. Relationship building is key. We've got to give value. We've got to show proof of value. Oftentimes,
Mhm.
those are the things that help us earn our keep.
Yeah. And I'll say this with Diane's comment, and I agree with her, but for everyone listening, like just a big what if, okay? What if your social activity, creating posts, I think I lost Carson's video for a little bit, but what if your social activity increased your response rates to your cold calls? Like, what if? Because now when you call right now and blah, 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 I don't know who you are. But if you call and you go, oh, that's a guy that posts stuff. That's a guy that's on a show, or that's the guy that, like, we're taking, as Carson always says, we're doing the activities we can do to increase the probability of making a deal or meeting somebody. And so, what if a strategic social activity plan around commenting, posting, building connections, maybe you have a show, maybe you just do whatever that makes sense and works well for you. What if that got you a 5% increase in callbacks on your cold calls? What if it accelerated all of your conversations by 10%? Like, what could that do? Because that's what social activity does. Your
You're
reputation precedes you.
you're dropping investments in each area. It was funny. I saw what you just said. I got a friend of mine that I met on LinkedIn, Justin Clark, and he's very, he's prolific in making posts. He mixes in posts about his family and his business and his sales and leadership philosophies. He made a post just yesterday where it was exactly that. He was calling into an organization. Gatekeeper was going to close up shop on him, and then guess what? The manager hollered out, "Oh, is that the Justin that I follow on LinkedIn?" How powerful is that?
Yeah. Yeah. And as Diane said in here, but then is it a cold call? it technically, I don't know, split the hair on it, yes or no. But it comes back to what Carson says. We use our activity to increase the probability of having those conversations, of meeting those buyers or developing those sales opportunities. And that's the combination of know, like, trust, and the Y axis on Tom's revenue zone model of building awareness, interest, and demand. Yes, Diane, I think you're right. It's a warm call at that point, but we may not even know it, right? We may not know it. The example Carson just gave, you're doing the call and you're thinking it's cold. I don't know who they are, but we don't know who's seeing. We don't know who's reading. We don't know who is paying attention to our social activity, that when we do call, they go, oh yeah, like I had lunch with somebody, it's been a couple of months now, reached out to me, said, hey, I'd love to have lunch and all that. I said, great, we have lunch. He's like, man, I feel like I know you.
Yeah.
You know how many times we had talked before? None. This is the value of social.
I feel like Diane's like our third host today. And you're
No,
right.
we should have brought her on.
It's like you're warming the leads. Like, you're right. It goes from a frigid, cold lead and you're warming it up to a Glengarry lead. And that's what social selling can do for you, is just you're making deposits into these relationships. And it enables you to become a known entity, because, buyers may be casual. Buyers may be, very trepidatious in engaging with you. But all of these things that you're doing, they're going to research you before they talk to you. And then if they know what you're all about, which social gives you that capability to put that out there, it makes the conversation warm. I can't tell you how many times I've had customers that we've jumped on a video call, and they see kind of, my home office, and like, wow, I feel like I'm on your podcast. And then guess what? We've gotten on podcasts together. And then, we've developed a meaningful, authentic relationship outside of just trying to sell stuff to each other. That's what makes these things real.
And the byproduct of that is also that sales process accelerates, right? We don't think about that, but when they feel like they know you, number one, it'll accelerate because now there's a respect, there's a relationship. The other thing that happens is ghosting drops down dramatically. I mean, people are just cold. They get that conversation, that first one, and they hang up all excited. Oh yeah, they're really interesting. And then they call back 19 times and they never get a response. Why is that? Well, there was no rapport to begin with. And buyers nowadays feel it's totally okay to ghost a salesperson.
Yeah.
But when there's a rapport, they feel like they know you, you have a reputation online, they see you. There's like a lot of those barriers go away. And even if the answer is no, or we're not ready, or whatever it may be, it happens faster and saves you time, and you move on.
Well said.
Yep. Well, Diane, thank you for carrying our show today. Without Tom, we needed the help, and
right.
It was nice of you to show up and support us that way. And Butch for the Casablanca, and I think Thomas was on there, and anyone else that was on there. Hey, thanks so much. We will be our show next week, where I'm missing out my dates. We got one coming up between, I think, Christmas and New Year's. We're going to record something with our thoughts on the year and where we're going, but we'll be back next week. And Carson, I don't remember the topic by any chance. I'm sorry, everybody, but it'll be good.
Carson
wonderful. Will be here.
It'll be wonderful. And we appreciate you. And, until next time, happy social selling.
I'm not gonna let you end on that. Hold that one for a second. Reminding everybody, if you're listening to the podcast and you like it, we would love and appreciate your reviews. We'd appreciate you sharing it. I got the thing coming in. Our downloads are increasing. That's kind of exciting. We want to get this information in front of more people. I think we're talking very foundational, very simple tools that sellers can use by implementing these newbie strategies to make a big difference in their own lives. And so if you like it, we'd appreciate the reviews, sharing it with your friends. And if you're seeing us on any of the live channels, be sure to subscribe. That helps us out too. We really appreciate it. Now, Carson, can you send us home? You send this, close this thing down?
At this point, now I feel like we should break out into the song Summer Nights. So,
look at that. You know what? if I started singing, we would lose audience forever.
We don't want that. So for everybody, thanks for joining. If you have ideas for future episodes, definitely let us know, and future guests as well. We've gotten a lot of great guests from the community. And until next time, happy social selling.